might be the most important video that you ever hear in your life. First of all, if one is not wise, they aren't that smart. And true wisdom is being on the top path. Okay. So, when we look at this thing, okay, let's understand Western culture. Everyone who has been subdued by Western culture, by Greco-Roman culture specifically, cannot possibly be smart. If you work at a college as a scientist, you're not smart. If you're a Freemason or in a sorority or a fraternity, you're not smart because your path is a Greco-Roman path. It is the evolution of that path. It is the continuity. It is further down that path. Now, what does this path include? Well, the Greco-Roman culture was dominated by Zeus, Odin, Poseidon, Hades, etc., right? There was amalgamation, syncretism. Odin and Poseidon are very much connected. In fact, we can get the word Odin scrambled in Poseidon. Okay, P-E-S, Odin, physical education Odin. And this wordplay is actually valid, believe it or not, because these are rape called deities. They said, beware of wolves in sheep's clothes in the Bible. Odin is known for his ravens and wolves. They talk about ravenous wolves, raven, ravenous wolves. Odin is a deity of wisdom, poetry, death, divination, magic. He's the son of Bor. The word Bor is a play on words for B-O-A-R, which is one of the forms of Set. In fact, the Greco-Roman deities and Odin, by default because of amalgamation and syncretism, combination, are the sons of chaos in the Orphic mysteries. And Set is a deity of chaos. In fact, Odin is said to be a storm god. He has two ravens. One of them's name means thought, and the other means memory. And these ravens go into the underworld, one of them at least, to get wisdom and knowledge, tree of knowledge, and give it to Odin. Odin is a magician. He's also depicted with the bull horns that we see in the Mesopotamian area, which are evil deities, deities like Baal that the Jews fight against. But religion isn't so much important in this video to prove my point in terms of Christianity versus paganism. It is just principles of universal morality. These deities are Neanderthal-like deities, and they behave like Neanderthals. They use trickery, psychology, and chemistry to quote-unquote change form symbolically, so to speak, and to trick people into sex. Mythology can be seen as mateology, and do the math, bitch. Mathology, sacred math. Math and mate and myth are connected. Zeus is symbolized by the eagle, the bull, etc. One of Zeus's forms is Baal, Jupiter, Baal. He's a son of Set, and one of his forms, his Roman form, a Roman amalgamation, is Jupiter, Baal. It's open and shut. He rapes many people and has a pet boy named Ganymede that he has sex with. Okay. Poseidon is a deity of basically navy warfare, pirates, okay, in earthquakes. He goes there after Apollo, their science deity, authorizes colonism. Their science deity is said to authorize colonism, and Poseidon authorizes basically, and in his spirit, they rape and imprison and attack people when they land as ships. Set and settler are connected. Hades obviously is a deity of the underworld. In his form Pluto, it means the rich. The rich is under the earth, right? Blood diamonds, rich evil people, right? The governing class, the Occupy Wall Street movement touches on this, and so on and so forth. Okay. So when we look at these deities, these are the main deities. These are the ruling deities. These are the sons of Saturn, right? Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades. Hera is his sister that he marries. Hera is an evil bitch. Freya, or aka Frigg, Odin's wife, is evil. Persephone is a gold-digging evil harlot. Zeus also has in his Jupiter form Juno, who is a deity of the Capitoline Mint. Talk about a gold digger. So Hera/Juno is an evil gold-digging bitch. Okay. So these are evil Neanderthal monsters that are the foundation of Western society. Did they just go away and people became Christians? No. We have Greek societies in college. The Masons deal in Greco-Roman mythology, big time. The Rockefeller Center, where we have Prometheus, who's said to steal fire from their deity of crafts, Vulcan/Hephaestus, okay, who attempts to rape Athena. He's a rapist deity too. Craft, crafty, and rape are connected, as are craft and a seagoing vessel. Okay. King Minos, who's from Crete, where Zeus is said to be born, is the father of homosexuality. And from his name we can get Min, an Egyptian deity of chemistry. Look where Crete is relative to Egypt and Greece on the map. And my son, you know, when we do the interchangeable vowels, vow to L, which gives us ball, right? Bel is also known as Bel, B-L. So basically, the reason why in Egypt the different regions are called nomes is because there was a lot of people that frankly resemble gnomes. And they basically used chemistry and trickery and poison and coerced people into having sex. And over time, they had kids that were taller. Okay, it's kind of, the story is somewhat, this history is somewhat echoed in the Bible with the story of the Nephilim, right? The sons of God, and they were giants. Well, one version of what happened in reality is these small guys had sex with these big women like Circe, and they became bigger people. Zeus is basically, most likely, a gnome, groups of gnomes, these smaller people, having sex with bigger people, and you get this big uncoordinated oath, okay? And it affects their mental prowess. Mental prowess, men tall, which one? You know, it's like the circus where you see those guys on stilts. If you're not naturally evolving to be tall through martial arts coordinated warfare, do you have the same do your offspring have the same coordination naturally as these guys? No. Do you have the same moral continuity when you're from rape cults and chemistry and coerced cults? No. Mental illness, right? Illness and stillness. Set positions. Narmer, for example, is in the process of striking someone on the top of the head, a follower of Set, okay, with a mace. He's also depicted as a falcon, as the Horus, the falcon pharaohs, which Horus is the archetype of pharaoh, often are depicted as a falcon. Okay, so they're in motion. The Skywalker in motion. These Greco-Roman deities are in set positions, set and seat. Right, they're seated. Hades is seated. Zeus is seated. Okay, and so on and so forth. And Odin is seated. Set is a deity of storm, sexual immorality, the color red, foreigners, magic, confusion. He has different forms: the boar, the set, the jackal, the snake, the dragon, the deer, the mule, the donkey, the aardvark. Which brings me to progressive, progress, vie. Okay, vie over what is considered progress with your Greco-Roman scale. Remember, these are the liberals, a bunch of liberal colleges, Greek societies, and Age of Enlightenment, secret societies like the Masons, you know, like the Eastern Star, and so on and so forth. And conservatives, which when scrambled, we get vi, at, con, serve. Vi, at, serve, con. They deal in the con. Okay, they're trying to convince you that their versions of the Bible are correct. Their used car salesman culture is correct. Their crony capitalist system is correct. They're trying to conserve all that wicked stuff, the genocide of the Native Americans, trying to play that off and say their forefathers were great anyway. Slavery, the railroading, all the horrible, horrible things this country has done. They're trying to con you into thinking that it is respectable and that this is the greatest country that ever was. Okay, versus the progressives, the liberals, who are often seen as hating America. And they're trying to convince you that the core of Western culture, okay, they're both evil and they should both be discarded. Who cares about the lesser of two evils? They're trying to convince you that the core of Western culture, which is the science, remember Apollo, as I mentioned earlier, is a deity of light, science, knowledge, and poetry, and so on and so forth, is said to authorize colonialism. So the scientists who gave them the guns and the ships, you know, scientists, artisans, craftsmen, scribes, sages, these things, these are all variations of craftsmen, and they make crafts, among other things, seagoing vessels and cannons and guns for craftsmen-like bodies. They're trying to convince you that the guys who authorized it and gave them the equipment and truly, you know, became the kind of corporations, really, from the West that, you know, invested in these voyages and the slave trade and so on and so forth, that these guys are the good guys. Well, this is the core evil. And of course, the country is disproportionately liberal. The social media, the dating sites, the news, the entertainment, a lot of the clothes are made by these liberal guys. Okay, this is the left-right paradigm. It is the brute nerd paradigm. Okay, the satanic nerd, right? These are occultists, feminists, satanic feminists, occult feminists, the satanic LGBT community. You know, go to their website on their page on Facebook. There's thousands of likes and so on and so forth. Okay. These guys are everywhere. Crowley-like crowd and so on and so forth. They dominate the left. The rich occultists, the rich atheistic Satanists, people who embrace the principles of evil, but don't profess a profound faith in religion and spiritual matters. Okay, so when we compare these guys, now compare briefly to the idea of Horus. Horus, the idea of the principles of good, generational. He's a deity of royalty, regenerating, the top martial artist who deals in focus, moral intensity, mental clarity, grace, love, truth, righteousness, the moral warrior spirit, etc. And his wife, Neith, who's the wise archer. The wise archer looks inside herself to see why she missed her mark. She looks inside of herself, and their children look inside of themselves and kind of analyze their past and compare them to these Neanderthal brute, kind of Pluto from Popeye deities, and says, hey, you know, who is superior? And of course, these deities further compound their treachery when they deal in pharmaceuticals, which is a play on words for pharmakeia, which means sorcery, farm, cultivation, cult, culture, cultivative cycle. These things are connected. So these people used to give people substances, females, they used to give their harlots substances, and they would hallucinate and they would prophesy. Okay, so they dealt in chemistry, psychology, coercion, sensory deprivation. They would throw their victims into prisons and rape them and throw them into prisons, deny them light, things of this nature. And they come out disc-oriented and they give them drugs and they say, prophesy. And I say, oh yes, I see it, you're dying now. It's the same thing with electroshock therapy. Let's just shoot through this real quick. Electroshock therapy, they started off with this kind of battery, and they torture prisoners and zap them with this battery. They then do it to mental patients, and it basically is like operant conditioning. It's like, are you sure you still see it that way? Zap. It's like, I don't see it that way anymore. And they try hard to please them. Am I doing a good job, sir? It's this kind of master-slave electroshock therapy, operant conditioning, trauma-based mind control. Rape is trauma. Violence is trauma. This is their brute nerd paradigm. So by now, you should know to a T that Horus is the archetype of the ideal man, not the Western brutes, and not the token minorities or anyone else who fails to transcend the Greco-Roman culture. And everyone else does, because their main core of their culture, listen carefully, is refusing to acknowledge that Horus is the archetype of Pharaoh. Right across the Mediterranean, they have their own kind of little world, the underworld, Upper Egypt, Lower Egypt, underworld, Greece and Rome, Crete, okay, where they refuse to acknowledge that Horus is the archetype of Pharaoh. That's why Zeus is also a sky god. It's really the ceiling of the underworld to keep you from going into Lower Egypt and starting to see the truth in terms of human nature and in terms of who the ideal Pharaoh is. But after the first dynasty, a bunch of magic car bitches with their little wands had taken over Egypt as well. Okay. Any questions, put in the comments. If I make this video too long, they'll give me difficulty uploading. They'll give me difficulty uploading as it is, and it's only like less than 13 minutes. Thank you.